What's up, everyone? Back with the Qiewa Q1Hummer Project I've working on. I've now got the scooter completed, got all my parts from Qiewa, installed everything, got everything put back together. I've test ridden it, the thing rides awesome. And so I want to do 3 parts in this video. First, I'm just going to do you a quick showing of the scooter, just to show you the look of it. Following that, I'll have a quick clip of a performance where I've taken it out for a ride, showing the acceleration and the top end speed of it. And then the third part of it, I'll go over each upgrade I did to it one by one. So I want to put the good stuff up front, and then if you're interested to see everything I did to the scooter, then you can continue watching from there. Okay, so first of all, you can see that I've changed the entire look of the scooter. First thing I did is I did some painting to it. I put this metallic blue paint on the sides of the fender here, the rims. It's a little bit dusty because I've ridden it. Painted shocks so they're not that ugly gold color. Rims aren't that gold color. Kickstand along the edge here. Just a touch of the paint up on this part that goes to the steering stem just to kind of blend it in together. And then up here on the headlights. And then up on the steering stem, the round part of the steering stem going up. And then also I've matched the handlebar, brake lever, and the light horn switch. So that came out pretty good, looks real good. Also, you'll notice I've done the kind of the space type look, outer space type with the stars, got that on the back fender. The deck. This is like actually a nebula of a wolf head. So that looks pretty cool. All along the sides of the scooter. On the front part of the chassis as well, carried it over there. Up along the front. This whole round piece, and then of course all the way up the steering stem. So that looks pretty good. Let's just flip it around real quick, take a look at the other side. So that came out pretty good. I really like that. That metallic blue paint makes it pop along with that space, outer space kind of star look on the chassis. I think that goes together real good. Okay, for this next bit, I'm going to do the test run where I basically am on the scooter with my GPS on there and an action cam looking at the GPS so you can see the acceleration, number 1, and then the top end speed. So this is just going to be a quick little bit. Just to show you real quick, first of all, my phone holder I'm using in this clip is just this cheap rubber one. I didn't want to move my good metal one over from my scooter for this test, so I just used a cheap rubber one. So we'll be bouncing around a little bit, but you can still clearly see what's going on. Okay, next. The app I'm using is called Ulsse Speedometer, ULYSSE Speedometer, and you can get that on the Play Store or Apple Play Store or wherever you get your apps at. Let's click on that real quick. So this is what you're going to see on the clip. In the middle here, this where these 3 dashes are, that's going to be your that's going to be your speed, current speed, then down here, the second thing to keep an eye on, there's under where it says race. It's basically a timer, so once that starts counting, when I go back and review the video, we'll be able to see how quick it took, or how much time it took me to get to 20, 25, 30, 35, and such. It also has a quarter mile. The bottom line will be a quarter mile, so we'll be able to get a quarter mile time for that. Okay, so a few things here. For this test, I'm running the battery at full charge, so it's right off the charger. Now, about speed on these scooters, or any scooter for that matter, your highest top end speed is going to be right off the charger. As your battery voltage drops down as you're riding, your top speed will drop with it. So battery voltage equals top speed. So as you use your battery, your top speed will dwindle down a little bit. So that's one thing. This test is done right off the charger, fresh charge. Point 2. I have 55 psi in my tires. Air pressure in your tires is definitely going to affect your top end speed and acceleration and distance for that matter. The less air you have in your tires, the more friction you have on the road. So that's going to cause more of a drain on your battery. It's going to slow you down a little bit. and if your battery's drained a little bit more, it's going to affect your distance as well. So 55 psi on the tires is what I'm doing in this run. I always ride with my tires at 55 psi. I find that's a good spot for me. If you like a little bit smoother ride, you can air it down a little bit more, but you're going to lose a little top speed. One thing I found as a rule of thumb, 5 psi in your tires equates to about 2 miles per hour in speed. So if I go from 45 psi in my tires to 50, I'm going to gain 2 miles per hour. If I go from 50 to 55, I'm going to gain another 2 miles per hour on my top end speed. The third thing is the settings in the scooter. If you go into your settings, there's one setting in particular, P15, that has to be set to 100 if you want to get the top end speed out of the scooter. Must be set to 100 to get to your top speed. P15 set to 100 for your top speed. So those are 3 things. Full charge for this test, 55 psi in the tires, and my P15 setting set for 100. That's the constraints I use for this testing. Okay, one last thing. In this video, you're going to see the timer. When the timer starts on the GPS, I'm already moving a little bit, and that's because I'm not starting from a dead stop. I'm pushing off with my foot and then getting both my feet on the scooter before I hit the throttle. Once I hit the throttle, the timer on the GPS starts. So all these times you're going to see are from the time I hit the throttle, not from the time I'm pushing off with my foot. And that's about it. Let's take a look. Okay, just to review those numbers, and as you saw in the video, the GPS app couldn't keep up with the acceleration of the scooter, so it jumped in chunks at some point. So basically, from the time I first throttled to 20 miles per hour, 5 seconds. 26 miles per hour I hit in 7.3 seconds. 31 miles per hour I hit in 10.11 seconds. 33 miles per hour I hit in 13 seconds even. And top end speed was 35 miles per hour. It took 21 seconds to get up to the top end. As you can see, the last couple miles per hour take a little longer to get to, but up to about 31 miles per hour, that torque really kicks in on it and pulls you up to that speed pretty quickly. And then, unfortunately, the video, the bottom number for the quarter mile was cut out, but it came in just under 30 seconds for the quarter mile, which compares to some previous test runs I did on my other scooters with torque mod. The original old controller torque mod did a quarter mile, 29.9, just under 30 seconds, as did the new controller with torque mod, which is what's in this scooter, 30 seconds. So that all correlates. First upgrade I did, the custom look on it. We've gone over that. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is I don't have the screws in the deck right now because I want to show you inside the scooter. So let's remove the deck real quick. And the first thing, other than this custom look, the next upgrade is I have a rubber gasket that I made to seal the deck, between the deck and the scooter. Normally, stock from the factory, they're supposed to come with a sealant along the edge here. So basically, the deck is kind of sealed on or glued on. So once you take off the screws, then you have to take a putty knife or a knife or something and try to cut that seal off and then pull the deck off. Sometimes people pry it and bend the deck a little bit. That's a hassle. If you ever need to go into the deck on this thing, and I go into ours a lot for experimenting and such, but it's so much easier to have a rubber gasket, seals it up good, keeps the dirt out, keeps water out, even though we don't ride in the water, and I wouldn't recommend riding in the water if you can help it. But this seals it, serves the same purpose as the sealant. It's rubber, so once you put the deck on there and tighten the screws down, this gets pinched in there, seals it good. So that's the first upgrade. Nice rubber gasket. You don't have to worry about sealing the deck. It's going to keep it clean. It's going to keep it dry in there. Okay, next, after that, I want to show you the inside here. I've done away with a lot of the wiring. These scooters notoriously have, for example, the wires coming down from the handlebar come back here, but those wires are normally about this much longer than they need to be. So you have all this excess wire. I guarantee you, if you open up any of the scooters that you get, you're going to see just a big jumble of wires shoved down into the back here. Looks like a big rat's nest. It makes it hard to work on, hard to see things. This controller creates a lot of heat. Having more wires in there complicates the problem of it getting warm. So I've done this on all our scooters. I've done it on this one. I've cleaned up the wiring. I've literally cut chunks of wire out on each cable this long. Not only that, I've gotten rid of 6 to 8 plug-on connectors that have possibilities of failing, and I've hardwired. I've hardwired a lot of stuff in the scooter, so there'll be no chance of connectors coming undone and things failing due to that. Next upgrade I did to this, of course, is the torque mod. This scooter has a brand new controller in it, just got it from Qiewa. I first installed the controller, tested it to make sure it was working properly. I then proceeded to add the torque mod to it. If you don't know what the torque mod is, watch some of my previous videos. Basically what it does, it gives the controller more power, more torque, faster acceleration, and it really improves the power of the scooter. Gets you up to the top speed of the scooter way faster than the stock version does. Okay, the next thing, since I did the torque mod to the new controller, if you watch my other videos about doing a torque mod to the new controller, you need to disconnect the brake sense line because that will cause a problem with torque modding a new controller. I've called that, when you disconnect the brake sense line, then you lose your brake lights. You have no brake lights at that point. But I came up with the modification to bypass the controller for the brake light control. So I've done that on the scooter as well. Not only did I torque mod it, I did the brake light bypass. So the brake lights are no longer controlled by the controller. It's done externally, so when you hit the brake levers, your brake lights will still work even though they're not connected up to the controller. The next modification I did is I did a modification adding a third brake light LED strip along the back fender here. I did that. The normal brake lights are back here up against the chassis, so they're not really on the rear of the scooter. They kind of don't even look like brake lights, even though they do light up pretty much, but brake lights are normally on the back of the scooter. You can see I added this LED strip in addition to the 2 on the chassis. So now you have a LED strip on the back fender that is also connected to your brake lights. So you have a brake light right on the rear of the scooter, and that's secured on there nicely with that shoe goo. That's for all practical purposes, this is now a part of the rear fender. It will never fall off of there, and I had to try to take one off of one of our other scooters, and it was really a chore to get it off of there. Can you get up underneath there, Aaron, so you can see the plastic? This is basically rubberized plastic. It's solid now, and if you watch some of my other videos, that's that shoe goo stuff I use on everything because it is so solid once it hardens. It's literally molded into the fender at this point. So again, we've got our 2 brake lights up against the chassis, and then our third brake light strip along the back, so you got a nice brake light right on the back of the scooter. Okay, the next upgrade I did is I upgraded the fender bracket. The fenders on these scooters are notoriously, after time, you'll be riding in vibration, the fenders will come loose, they'll crack, possibly break. One of the reasons for that is the fender bracket. Here's the original stock fender bracket. You can see the size of it. 2 holes holding it to the chassis, 2 holes for the fender. I replaced this, actually on my son's scooter, this broke in half one day. This is the whole reason why I did this upgrade. I'm replacing this bracket with a bracket of the same thickness. It's a steel bar, and you can see it's about twice as wide as the original one, maybe even a little bit more. So bigger, thicker bracket. The original bracket, if you look at the fender here, only came up about this high on the fender, and you can see originally there were 2 screws holding it on, so that's about as high as the fender came up, the bracket came up. With my new bracket, I've continued it all the way up to this first bend in the fender, so it's wider, as you can see down here. Here's the width of it. Again, here's the original one compared to it. You can see the width of it is much wider. It comes up all the way to this first bend. You're getting a lot more bracket on the rear of the fender. Beyond that, I've added these large washers. Originally, they just had the screws, and that put all the stress of the fender when it vibrates on those two small points, which is why the fender would tend to crack and break. So I got washers. I put a third screw in higher up along the top of the bracket, again with the washer. And again, the bracket is about this wide, so you have this whole centerpiece here filled with bracket on the back. As you can see up on the back there, Aaron, the bracket coming up there all the way to the top of that first bend. And so you have a lot more distribution of the stress of this fender when it starts vibrating around. And you can see, I can shake the whole scooter with this fender now. This thing is really tight. It's going to last a long time. I don't think we'll ever have a problem with it. On both mine and my son's, the fender was already cracked when I did this modification. So we had damaged fenders already. I did this modification with the bracket. Still using our damaged fenders, they're rock solid. Again, putting the washers on there on the front and the wider bracket on the back that goes all the way to the top, and adding the third screw distributes the pressure, the stress that's on that fender. It distributes it to a wider portion, which secures up the fender and makes it so it's not going to crack any further. Also, I've put a coating of this same rubber stuff that I used on the brake strip on the back side of that fender before I screwed it on there. So there's a rubber coating in between the metal bracket and the fender, so it will not make any noise whatsoever. A lot of these times you'll hear rattling coming from the fender and such. This is nice and quiet, nice and solid. All right, the next modification I did is to stabilize the steering stem better than it is from stock. So we've got our steering stem here, and I'm talking about movement left to right. So there's two pieces of stem, this kind of oval piece, and then there's the round piece that goes down inside it that slides up and down when you adjust your handlebars. Now, sometimes if you were to like hold this piece here and then grab your handlebars and go left and right, you get some movement in your handlebars left and right. There are two things with that. One, there's two screws right along the top here that you need to have tightened good. I would actually recommend taking them out and putting some Loctite on the threads and then tightening them down, and they shouldn't move anymore. So that's one point. If those are loose, this whole oval piece can move a little bit. But the upgrade I'm talking about is to the steering stem itself, the mechanism that holds it. You have this folding lever. If you loosen that, on the stock scooters, there's a hole where I got the screw, there's just a small hole with a little small grub screw that you tighten up, and it basically tightens and pushes into this groove that's on the handlebar here, and that keeps the handlebars from moving left and right. Problem is, it's a really small screw. It loosens up quite often, and you get that play in your handlebars. I think a better way of doing it is what I've done here. I've literally taken that grub screw out. Again, it's small. I actually lost it on mine. It came out. And what I've done instead, I've taken a sheet metal screw. I've aligned the handlebars, and you can see here's one on the lower adjustment. I've actually drilled a hole through that center post in that groove. So if I were to lower the handlebars, I've got one at this location too. You can see if I were to lower the handlebars to the next level, I'd first have to take that screw out, because this sheet metal screw is going through this bracket and then into the hole that's in that round piece of the stem. So this screw here is literally penetrating into the round portion, and there's no way now that can go left and right as long as the screw is in there and is tight. Again, I've used Loctite thread lock seal on the threads, and I crank that screw down. This thing's rock solid, no left and right movement. It's not going to come loose. It should for some reason through vibration. If the screw were to come loose, I could simply just crank on it with a Phillips head screwdriver. Nice big screwdriver. You can put more pressure on it than you can with that little grub screw, which if you put too much pressure on that, you're just going to strip it out. So this is a much better way. It stabilizes handlebars. So instead of having just a little grub screw pushing against the bar to try and hold it, there's a sheet metal screw that's actually going into the bar, and it prevents this thing from moving side to side at all. Okay, the next thing I did to this is I added what I call the hot wire kill switch to the scooter. And basically the reason for doing this is the alarm module that's installed in the scooter, whether you have the scooter turned on or not, it's constantly drawing power from your battery. it will draw 0.5, half a volt to 0.6 volts per day from your battery. So if you were to fully charge your scooter and you didn't ride it for a week, that alarm module would actually pull about 4.5 volts off your battery, so you wouldn't have your full charge anymore. Again, whether you have the scooter turned on or not, whether you have the alarm module on or not, it's connected and it's always drawing power from your battery. So what I did is, particularly my son and I don't really use the alarm, so I just wanted to get rid of it. So I pulled the alarm module out and bypassed it with the switch, which I call a kill switch. So I did that to this scooter, so if you fully charge it, the alarm module will not drain it anymore. I've taken the alarm module out. I'll show you about the alarm module next, what I did with that. But currently, I've put in a kill switch on the scooter. That's this little switch right here. So right now it's in the off position. And just to show you how the switch works, it's a switch, it's a safety switch. So you can't just automatically push it. It won't go by itself. You have to pull it out, and then you can toggle it. So like if you're riding with it on and you go over a bump, it's not going to turn off by itself. It can't do that. You've got to literally pull it out first, then you can shut it off. So right now it's in the off position. Now I can't turn on the scooter. There's no power to the scooter whatsoever. I cannot turn on the scooter. It's like it's dead. So that's why I call it the kill switch. It kills all power to the scooter. So if you were sitting somewhere and somebody tried to jump on it and turn it on and ride away, they can't turn it on unless they know where that switch is. So first thing you got to do, you toggle the switch to the on position. Again, you can't just toggle it. You got to pull it out first. Now I can throw it forward. Now there's power to the scooter. So that's essentially doing what the alarm does. When you alarm it, it kills the power to the scooter. So the switch is taking the place of that. It kills the power when it's turned off. Now that I've got it turned on, you can see horn works. The lights will come on. I can now power up the scooter. I want to include the alarm module in case somebody really wanted to use it. So here's the alarm module, which I pulled out of the scooter. I put a little 2-pin connector on it. And up here off my USB charger, here's the USB charger. I've moved it off the handlebars just to make more room up here. And the reason why I did that is these grips took up a little more room, so I had to make some room on the handlebar. The compass, nobody uses a compass. It's just a cheap little compass anyway. People like to use the USB port, so I left that on there. I just put it on the stem parallel this way. That still works. But as well, I pigtailed off a connector here off the USB charger where you can plug on the alarm port. So if I plug on this alarm port here externally, you can hear now my alarms. It's in the disalarmed condition. Now on my scooter I have a bag here, so you could just leave this, hook it up like that and leave it on a scooter like that, or if you have a bag, you could drop it into the bag. And then now if we take the alarm remotes, I can alarm it. And also, with the alarm module inside the scooter, you can still hear it, but it is I think twice as loud being outside of the scooter. It's blazing loud now. So I think I've alarmed it. Let's see now if I were to move the scooter and shake it a little bit. Okay, first it's warning you. It's like, stand back. There it goes. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so now you can hear it. That's pretty loud. That's pretty loud. I don't want to be standing here. If I were trying to steal a scooter and that happened, I wouldn't be sticking around much longer. Even though, yeah, it's just hanging there. If somebody were really to look at it, like, oh, here it is, they could yank it off. But then if you got your power killed, they still can't jump on a scooter and take off. A scooter weighs 60 pounds. It's not just easy to pick up really quick. So, I mean, if you're drawing attention to it with this. Okay, where's that coming from? Okay, you're going to get out of this. You're not going to stick around. And by then, if you're like, okay, so it's making noise, I'm just going to jump on it, and you try to turn it on. If you got the kill switch on, they won't be able to turn it on. 60 pounds, not too easy to just pick up and throw in the back truck. It's going to be drawing all kinds of attention. So beyond that, I would always recommend locking it up unless you're like really close to it. I put the kill switch on. You can kill the power here. You've got the alarm module. If you still want to use the alarm, you can just plug it on up here and use the alarm. The alarm module will no longer kill the power to the scooter because I've disconnected it, but you can kill the power with the switch. The alarm module now, as long as it's not plugged on here, if you plug it on here and leave it on there, it's going to start sucking power from the battery again at half a volt per day. but it gives you the option of taking that off so you can save the charge on your battery. You could charge a scooter fully a week later, you'd still pretty much have your full charge on it, so it's not going to steal power from your battery. The next upgrade I did, and this is one I like a lot, is I upgraded these side lights. Now normally on the Q1, these are bright white LED strips, and they're very bright, makes this thing very visible. But what I did is I installed RGB lighting for both the strips here, and basically what that is, it allows you to control, with this controller, different colors, different patterns, and you can program different patterns and save them. They say there's over 300 different color and pattern combinations. You can save up to 16 of those in like a stored playlist. And let's take a look at that really quick. I've got that hooked up directly to our light switch. So when I turn on our regular light switch, our side lights come on just like before, but you'll notice they're no longer white. They're, get back a little bit too. Right now I've got them on a purple, a blue with a purple flashing going through them. I've really actually got it on a program pattern now, so they'll start changing after 15, 20 seconds there. Now it's just switched to a red with the blue going through it. I think I have maybe 10 or 11 patterns in there that I'm switching between. And you can see those look really good. One other thing I did to go along with this is the normal stock front headlights on the scooter. And you can see there's some really cool patterns, really cool effects with this thing. I like this a lot. Adds a lot to the scooter, especially with this kind of space look to it. It really sets it off. And one other thing I did, as I mentioned, the front headlights, which are normally white, I've made them kind of a purplish blue to match the rest of the scooter. These headlights really don't do a whole lot for helping you see at night anyway. They basically let other people see you good, but as far as lighting the road at night, doesn't do a whole lot of good. So I colored those just to give it more of a custom look and to match the rest of the scooter. If you look at this controller, if you want to just do a solid color, for example, let's do a red. I'm going to push the red button, and now the lights are just solid red. Here's green. Here's blue. I kind of went too quick between yellow and such. There's a purple, kind of a different blue color. And again, these colors match this scooter perfectly. You can do white if you want. If you want to do a plain white, you can do that too. And then I'm back to kind of an auto color fading. Like I said, there's so many different patterns and color choices on this thing. You can just put it in auto mode, and it'll just one by one step through the 300 different patterns by itself. And I mean, it's just awesome. That thing really looks good, especially at night. Yeah, as you can see, it's pretty cool. I really like it a lot. Again, you currently don't have that on the Q1 scooters. Normally Q1s are just the pure white, solid white, and that's it. You can set the colors you want. You can set different patterns. You can have shooting LEDs like this. Just whole myriad of different things. I'm just going to step through a few of them. I'm switching between different ones at the moment. So that gives you an idea on that. I really like those side lights. Sets the thing off. Okay, so the last few things I added to this scooter are just kind of not so much modifications, but just some upgrades. First thing is I want to point out these hand grips. I got these nice hand grips on here, custom hand grips. They're longer, they're really comfortable. They've got this rubber kind of squishiness to them. I painted the end caps of those to match the color scheme of the scooter with the metallic blue. Also, I added these kind of rubber brake grip handles. It's just a rubber sleeve that goes with your brake grip handle, makes it more comfortable. Not a big deal, but it adds to it. It's much more comfortable if you're riding long distances. Also, I'm including this headlight. As I mentioned, as you can see, I added color to the stock headlights, which again don't light up the road much for night riding. They're not that great for night riding, so I colorized those. but I'm including this headlight with the scooter. This is a really nice headlight, and we'll take a look at that with the garage door closed so you can see the brightness of that here in a second. Headlights included with it. A couple other things I'm including. One is the side mirror here. Good idea to have side mirrors on these scooters at least, so you don't got to keep looking behind you for traffic. This is one of my old mirrors. I've got some ones I like better now, and really the only thing I didn't care for too much about this type of mirror is you go over a bump and sometimes it moves. I tried to solid that up with some glue. Actually, that shoe glue, this was before I was using that shoe glue stuff, but that would probably work really good on this once you get it set to where you want it. For right now, I've just got it kind of loosened so it'll fold in. It's got this flashing light on the back, or solid. It's a decent mirror, just like I said, it moves a little bit when you go over bumps. I like the ones I got on our scooters now a lot better. So that's one other thing, and then one other thing besides that is a rear tail light. Just a small tail light here I've got on the side mounted. Flashes or solid. And so you got tail light on the back to go along with the brake light strip on the back of it. And then lastly, in both the front and back tires, I installed some of this flat out product. If you've seen some of my other videos, you know I really like this stuff. It's great. You will not get a flat tire with this stuff in the tires. I once had a big staple, heavy duty staple in my rear tire. Actually in it, I pulled the staple out. I could count to 3 and that hole was sealed. It didn't even let all the air out of the tire. So had I been on the road somewhere or riding in the desert here, we get these big thorns from cactuses. I could have just kept right on riding, wouldn't have to worry about getting a flat tire. A lot of people say they don't like the pneumatic tires, the tires that have air in them, because, it's too hard to get flats all the time. This stuff will prevent you from getting flats. I'm still riding with the inner tube in the tire that I had that staple in, and I put hundreds and hundreds of miles on it. I'm not even worried about replacing that. It's sealed, it's good. This stuff is the best stuff. If you've got one of these scooters or any scooter with air tires, get some of this stuff and put it in your tires, and you will not have to worry about flat tires. The other thing about air tires, they give you a better ride. You get a hard plastic tire on your scooter, it's going to be a rougher ride. It's not going to be as smooth as air tires. Air tires are the way to go, especially when you're on a scooter that can do 30 miles an hour. Okay, so I got the garage doors closed. Let's first take a look at that rear brake light strip that I pointed out earlier. Go around the back there, Aaron. And here's the rear brake lights. Now you can see we still got the 2 up on the chassis, but in addition, we've got this nice one on the back here. So it clearly shows the brakes when you're hitting the brakes from the back. Okay, next thing, let's take a look at this headlight. Move this back here a little bit. And here's the headlight. Okay, there we go. And I've got it here, so on the side here, so you can adjust it. You can point it down in front like that, or if you want to point it further up the road, you can do that. You can see that gives off a lot of light. That's low setting. Let's go to medium. There's medium. And there's high. And you see that's a really nice light. This thing's not even fully charged right now, but you can see it gives off a nice amount of light. Gives off a pretty wide beam pattern. Comes all the way over to the sides here, maybe 3 or 4 feet on each side. So you've got a nice large beam pattern, and that's a far superior light to what the original stock headlights are. Again, without that light on, that's basically what the stock lights did. It's a little dimmer because I got the color in there, but it would be, imagine that as white. Again, it helps you be seen on the road from other cars, but if you're riding, it doesn't give you a whole lot of light, even if I didn't have the color in there. You don't have a whole lot of light to see with if you're riding. Then we turn this on, and you can see that gives you plenty of light to ride with. That's a pretty good light. I'm really happy with that light. I'm going to include that with the scooter. So you got a nice headlight, and that really helps, especially at nighttime if you're going 25, 30 miles per hour. You need to see what's on the road ahead of you. I'm going to probably put 20 or 30 miles on it, just to prove everything's good on it to myself before I get rid of it. Anyone interested, there's my email address down there. Shoot me an email. I'm going to try to get rid of it here locally too, putting it out in front, driving around some places. So if anyone's interested, I suggest you get a hold of me as soon as possible. Alright guys, that's about it for this one. Hope you enjoyed this video of this custom Q1 I just finished building. Like I said, I had fun doing this. I enjoy working on these things. If you watch any of my other videos, you probably already know that I know what I'm doing with these things. This is a good scooter. Once you work out all the kinks in it, and this one, trust me, I've worked out everything, as you can see by this video. Totally customized it. This is a one-off scooter. You will not find another scooter exactly like this one anywhere in the world. Nothing that looks like it. Has the modifications that I've done to it. It's the only scooter like this. I love these scooters. They're great. Again, I can get riding around 30 miles per hour. I've gone 36 miles and still had 15% battery left. Get great range. If I wanted to go farther, and believe me, 30-mile ride on these things, I really don't want to go any further than that. That's pretty tiring after that. Should you want to go further, then don't go 30 miles per hour, go 25 miles per hour. A lot of these manufacturers of scooters, like the E-Move, they advertise 65 miles. That scooter tops out at 25 miles per hour. I don't think there's 65 miles. It's doing 25 miles per hour. If you go further, it's probably saying, at 20 miles per hour or whatever. If you were to ride this scooter at 20 miles per hour, I believe you could get 50 miles out of it if you really want to. But again, that's a long ride on a scooter. I mean, you ride these things 20, 25 miles standing up on a scooter, you're going to start getting tired. So, I've never ridden further than 36 miles at one time. And that was even with a 2-hour break in the middle. And by the end of that ride, I was tired. I didn't want to ride the scooter anymore. I've got these things dialed in now. My son's mine, this one, my friend's got two. They're all dialed in. And they run great. They look great. We've got them customized. I had this RGB lighting to both my friend's scooters. All these modifications I put on these scooters, I've done to our scooters. And I've got videos on them. If you've watched all my videos, you know that these modifications I've shown you today are ones I've done previously, and I have other videos on them. So anyway, that was it. I picked up the scooter as an open box mechanic special. I customized it, fixed it up, got some new parts on it from Qiewa, and they worked with me. Shout out to Qiewa. I'm not related to them, but they helped me out with some parts and stuff, and I appreciate that, and I want to thank them for that. Again, if anyone's interested in this, get a hold of me as soon as possible. Starting tonight, I'm going to be pushing to get rid of this thing. I'm going to be taking it somewhere tonight, setting it out, and seeing if I can draw some attention to it. And so again, if anybody out there is interested, I suggest you drop me an email as soon as possible, because I'm going to be trying to push this as quickly as possible. And we'll see if I can get rid of this thing pretty quickly. I might go ahead and just do another one and go from there. All right, guys, that's it for this time. Have a good one. Take care. Peace.